everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. This is Fanny and today we are going to create a simple JavaScript random password generator. So first thing is, you can see I have a folder called coding project. So I'm gonna just create a new folder inside this and I'll call it JavaScript random password generator. So after creating our project, I'm going to open this folder in VS Code. So I'll right click on it and just click open with code. So now this is our project. What we are going to do, we are going to create 3 different files. The first file, we're going to call it index.html. Our second file, we are going to call it style.css. And our last file, which is going to have our scripts, called script.js. So now we start with the index.html file. We are going to create a simple HTML structure just by pressing shift ! And then you press enter, and we shall change the title to JavaScript random password generator. So after creating the structure, we are going to link our script and also our styles. So just below the title, we are going to link our style.css, and then also just before the body closes, we are going to link our script. We get the source from script.js, which is here. So now that we are done, we are going to create a div and we give it a class called wrapper. And inside the wrapper, we're going to create a heading and we just call it password generator. So after that, we are going to create another div and we give it a class of password. And then below that div, we are going to create a button and we name it generate password. So we are going to give our button an ID and we call it password btn. So that is all. Let's open and see what we have. So you can see we just have the page and the button. So let's open it side by side so that we are able to see whatever we are doing. So this is what we have. Now the next thing is we are going to write some styles. So I'm going to go to my style.css. I'll start by styling the body. I'll give it a font family of Arial sans serif. So let me just remove this. I will text align center. I'll give my body a background #21930. So this is basically for fallback for old browsers. However, for our actual background, we are going to give it a gradient background. So let's write another background and we give it linear gradient. And inside the gradient, we're gonna set to right, comma, and we give it a lighter color. Let's call this color 6D, D5ED. Give it a comma and give it a darker color, which is going to be our actual background color, which is hash. So you can see our background has changed and it has kind of a gradient. Now after that, let's go back to our index and let's style this class wrapper. So we go back to our styles.css and classes start with a dot. So we style our wrapper. Let's give it a background color, which is our main color. Let's give it a height of 300 pixels and width of also 300 pixels. Then give it a margin 0 auto and then margin top of 150 pixels. So now let's style the H1. We're gonna give it a color of white, then give it a padding top of 20 pixels. And then our next item is the class password. So I'm gonna go back here and style our password. Let's give it a margin top of 20 pixels and give it a font size of also 20 pixels. Give it a font weight bold and then color white. Now let's make this password an ID so that we are able to use it in the JavaScript file. So what we are going to do is we're just going to change the class to ID. We change it to ID. And then we come back to our styles and also change it to ID. This is basically the area where the password is going to be displayed after being generated. So the next style we have is the button, which is also an ID, which is password btn. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'll come back here. For IDs, we start with hash and paste my ID there. And we are going to give it a margin top, 20 pixels. We're going to give it a padding of 10 pixels and 20 pixels. We shall give it a font size. Let's reduce the font size to 16 pixels. Let's remove the button border and just set it border none. Then give it a color, which is gonna be white. That's for the text. And then let's give it a background color, which is gonna be the lighter version. So now let's go back and see it. So you can see this is what we have. This is just a basic interface. Now one last thing is to make sure that this when I click on this, it is able to work. Now, the next step, we are going to go to our JavaScript and make the functionality come to life. So I'm going to open my script.js. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to create a function to generate the password and call it generate password. And we are going to give it a parameter called length. So we are going to select characters, strings. So I'll say const, this is a variable, and call it charset is equal to a string. Now inside this string, we are going to put three things: the alphabet in small letter, the alphabet in capital letter, we are going to put numbers 0 to 9, and we are going to put special characters. So I have them all here in my notepad, so I'm just going to copy and paste them here. So the first line is the alphabets in small letters, so I'm just going to copy this and paste it there. And then I have the alphabet in capital letters. I'm just going to copy it and also paste it there because this is what the password is going to be generated. And then we have the numbers 0 to 9. I'm going to copy it and paste it there. And then lastly, we have special characters. So I'm just going to copy these special characters as well. And then I'll just paste it there. So now this is our string. So you might be wondering, why are we adding all these characters? It's because the generated password is going to have a mix of all these lowercase, uppercase, letters, digits, and special characters, making the password more secure. So now after this, let's create a variable. Let's say let password equal to an empty string. So we are going to create a for loop, which is going to start with an initial value of I, which is set to 0 and is less than length I plus plus. Now this means that the loop will continue executing as long as the condition I is less than the length. So let's const random index will equal to math.flow math.random function charset.length. So here we are going to generate a random index with the expression called math.random, which will generate a random decimal number between the inclusive length of the characters. And then the math.flow is used to basically round down this random decimal number to the nearest integer, giving it a valid index within the range of the character of the charset string. So here we are going to say password plus equal to charset, and then we put in our random index. And then after that, we return password. Now let's proceed. So this function was basically to generate a password. So let me write a comment here. Generate random password. Now next is we are going to create another function to actually update our password display. So we're gonna have function and we call it update password display. And in this function, we're going to create a variable and name that variable password length. How long do you want your passwords to be? So for now, we are going to say maybe 10. You can change this to the number that you want. And then we're going to create another variable of constant password, and then to generate password, and we put in the parameter password length. So after that, we do document.get element by ID, and then we are going to get our ID from our HTML. I hope you remember our ID was called password.textContent, which is a JavaScript property, and we get it to our password. And then after this, we can now activate on-click our button. Let's create an on-click event listener so that if this button is clicked, we are able to generate a password. So on-click button generate a password. So we are just going to write document dot, we are going to get element by ID, and the ID we are getting is for the button, which is password btn. So we're gonna put that there. Dot, we are going to add event listener, and our listener is basically click. And once someone clicks on that button, what you're going to do is we are going to call the function that we have here, which is update password display. So we have update password display. So now you can see we just have this. Let's test if this really works. So this is what it looks like. So when I click on generate password, nothing is happening. Let's go back to our code and see what is not happening. So you can see that it shows we have an error somewhere. So let's see what the error is. So it says that expected semicolon, which we are supposed to put here. So we have put that, and then we shall put I should be less than length. Oh yeah. So let's see if now it works. Or now it works. Generate password. It will execute update password display function, and it will generate new password. So guys, basically this is how you can create a simple password generator using JavaScript. You basically create a function to generate the password, and then you update your password on display. So that's like when I click, it changes. You can see that. And then you activate the event listener for on click, which is basically here. So thank you so much for watching. If you need this code, check out the GitHub repository, the code chick, and you'll find the code and also the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.